One of the elements of my culture is my church background. I grew up in a loving Christian family and went to the same church for about 18 years. I went to Sunday school, was involved in the youth group, I worked in the church nursery on Sundays, and I volunteered at basically every event that the church put on. I was very involved in my home church. The people at my home church also played a big role in my culture. Many of the teachers, pastors, and friends that I developed relationships with at Spokane First Church have helped shape my faith and my passions. A lot of who I am today is because of the love and support of my home church. Another big factor of my culture was my education. My parents decided to homeschool all three of us kids from kindergarten through high school. Through my homeschooling experience, I was able to have a flexible schedule which allowed me to get more involved in my church and other activities. I was able to take charge of my own learning and was even allowed to choose and help plan some of my curriculum. And despite what most people assume, yes, I did have friends. But I did do my homework in my pajamas most days. My positive educational experience is a motivation for me because I want my students in my future classroom to also have a positive educational experience just like I did. For most of my life, I lived in a log house that my uncle built on our 23 acres of property in eastern Washington. Living in the woods away from neighbors and busy roads played a significant part in creating my culture. Whenever I wanted, I could go outside and climb a tree, build a fort, catch tadpoles and frogs in one of our ponds, or I could just sit silently under a tree and read a good book. I grew up surrounded by nature, and because of that, I have developed a love for being in the outdoors. Through my home church, I have had the privilege to discover my love for missions, which has had a huge impact on my life. I went on my first mission trip in 2008 to Honduras, where my eyes were opened to the brokenness of our world. My heart was broken for the people of Honduras who were living in poverty, and a fire was started in my soul for compassion. Since then, I have had the privilege to go on 5 more mission trips around the world. I have been to Kenya, back to Honduras, South Dakota, Costa Rica, Sri Lanka, and I'm going back to Kenya this summer. Missions have had a big role in my culture and has expanded my understanding of different cultures and people groups. As I already briefly mentioned, I have had a lot of experience with working with kids, and these experiences have shaped a desire in me to love kids through public education. Because I have experienced firsthand what poverty looks like through my work on mission trips, and because I have experienced a positive education myself, my desire is to combine both of those aspects of my culture so that I can empower the students in my future classroom through education. Even though public education hasn't become part of my culture quite yet, I'm excited to be preparing for it to become a part of it. In order to prepare to become a teacher, I came to NNU. My transition to NNU has had a big impact on my life and my culture. Living in the dorms away from home for the first time, eating at the decks, going to classes for the first time in my entire life, meeting new people and building lifelong friendships, NNU was a big change for me. I am so glad that I found a school that challenges me both spiritually and academically and pushes me to be the best teacher and person that I can be. One of the biggest changes to my culture that happened when I came to NNU was that I met the love of my life. I know it sounds cheesy, but my boyfriend Mitch has had a huge impact on my culture. One of the biggest things is the effect that our relationship is going to have on our future. Mitch is a part of the ROTC program here at NNU, and once he graduates, he will be commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Army. There are a lot of unknowns right now, which results in a lot of worrying. But I know that no matter where we end up living, what branch he is in, or anything else that the Army can throw our way, I will always have him by my side. As we've grown closer together, he has become a very important part of my culture. Thanks for taking a quick look at this snapshot of my culture